Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the latest episode of Behind the Panels, where myself and a bunch of friends get together and kind of give director commentary on the latest episode of my webcomic, Simon Sues. And with me today, I have the usual crew, and I'll let them introduce themselves. Corinne?
Hello, I am Corinne. I work on various things on Simon Sue's. In addition to that, I am a character artist.
Yes.
Shannon?
Shannon?
I'm Shannon. I occasionally give feedback to Young about larger plot points, but also individual thumbnails on occasion. And when I'm not doing that, I'm the photographer.
Today's chapter, episode 61 of Simon Sue's Occult Lawyer. Dun dun dun. Okay. So
I love this train.
uh
Is this the San Francisco skyline? What skyline is
no,
that?
this is a totally made up kit bash. And for those of you who don't know what kit bash is, it's basically where you take 3D models and meshes that may have come from like a game level, and you kind of export them out into these chunks where you can reuse them in other levels, or you can sort of build out a bigger environment with them.
Hmm.
So it's just a bunch of like tenement buildings and office buildings, generic office buildings that are just kind of thrown in together.
There. Okay.
Yeah. Um, so
I'm not press.
we see Simon trying to convince one of the people involved in the the trial that happened involving the murder of Chloe. And remember, in case it kind of slipped your mind, but we had this sort of irresponsible, negligent doctor who had signed off on the the suspect's medical assessment chart and released him without properly diagnosing him. And so he may be a target of this demon that's going around, kind of vigilante demon.
Hmm. I love the lighting in the panels that are coming up. Like, I love the attention to detail that sitting here in the subway, the light would be coming from both sides. And then, like, it's just very consistent from shot to shot where the lighting is actually coming from. And it's actually set to what it would be. I like your attention to detail when it comes to lighting.
Thank you.
I think you can really, really see that.
Indoor lighting is such a pain in the ass compared to what you need to do for ambient, just because there's so many things at play, so many things that bounce.
Mm-hmm.
Different materials.
Yeah, different materials, things casting shadows on other surfaces. So it's so complicated.
And it makes product photography really complicated.
Yes, so you should know, Shannon.
Mm-hmm. Look at that swirly hair.
The ice cream swirl hair that you
Yeah,
enjoy.
both these characters look really good in this scene.
I actually I don't know if this comes across, but I really modeled the character Shannon not only off of yourself in spirit, but I really looked at a lot of Audrey Hepburn images.
Oh,
That's why I was trying to guess. Because I was like, it has Shannon-ish features. I was like, who else? It's Shannon Audrey Hepburn.
so is she my and Audrey Hepburn's love child? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, maybe I'll do a merge of you and
I
Audrey
want to
Hepburn.
see it. Please let me know.
Oh, I did want to call out this part because, again, just a little bit of legal terminology. And again, I'm not a lawyer, so please do not take anything I say as legal advice. But so duty to act is kind of it's actually a little bit of an ongoing debate with what should be people's responsibilities to each other, and how our society all connect to each other and our expectations. So in the beginning, there was this question of, can we hold people morally responsible? And there was a split between a lot of kind of law academia and theorists and actual, law and legislation itself on do we have to have people accountable for decisions, active decisions that they make, because then how can we tell them what they should do, what's right or wrong?
Well, it's also, it seems like one of these ideas that's interesting to think about, but I imagine would be, practically speaking, very difficult to navigate in any kind of legal case, because there's so many factors leading into why we choose to not do something.
Yeah.
And it, yeah, when there's not an explicit action to judge, but a non-action, I imagine that would make it a lot more complicated. But I'm also not a lawyer, so I don't know.
That is exactly what many court systems, like our court system, as well as England's court system, because there is a famous case that kicked off a lot of law debate and review of this woman who drank it was like a beer, a I want to say root beer, but it was in an opaque glass that was a borrowed bottle, and it was kind of one of those. It's an old timey situation where you still had milk delivered to you. So there was this guy who he sold this like kind of beer or root beer concoction, and he would put his stuff in these borrowed bottles for people to buy, and the bottle had been sitting on the curbside for a little bit before somebody actually purchased it, and a snail had gotten into the bottle and died.
Oh God.
And the woman who ended up buying it and consuming it, she
God.
ended up with indigestion that was serious enough that they investigated and were able to track down the manufacturer of the beer. And the question was, what is his duty to that woman? And it actually turned out that there were two major factors involved in whether he could to determine whether he could be held liable. And one was like, could he foresee that having an opaque bottle out there where people couldn't see the contents of the bottle could lead to some type of like tort case, or would lead to damages? And they determined, the English court system determined, yes, he was, or this company was liable.
Wow.
And so that's kind of what this duty to act is, because in the States, we don't necessarily have, very robust laws on telling people what's right or wrong, but we do have things where we say you're in a certain position where you have responsibilities to people.
There he is.
There he is.
Yeah.
Look at that. Dill.
What a handsome man.
He's very handsome.
Yeah. This guy, his face, just the amount of time inking it compared to the other characters, maybe because he's also new, but I feel like
deserves it.
Yeah,
deserves
it's the hair alone.
The hair is beautiful. Like, I didn't think anyone had better hair than Simon, but I stand corrected.
Yeah, if you're in my comic, you must have luxurious hair.
State law.
Mm-hmm.
But for those of you who don't appreciate your public defenders or your district attorneys, they work really hard. So they're definitely not the stereotypical corporate lawyer that's like in his big, expensive suit, riding in limos, and then screwing over their clients or screwing over other people's clients. They're actually working hard and doing a great job as a public servant. So give them props. And the Simon and Shannon approach this guy, and he's way too busy for them, because you have to remember they're law students, so he doesn't know they're the main characters.
They're at the bottom of the law.
Yeah.
He doesn't really care what they do.
So he's like, oh God, are you guys interns? I don't want to deal with this. I am so busy with real life.
Look at these faces. They're so good. You can tell instantly, you're like, those are the faces of liars, nervous liars.
Funny.
But he humors them because, what else are you gonna do? They're gonna follow him around anyway.
He probably doesn't even want to go to the meeting he's on his way to.
Yeah, he's got some arraignments.
Arraignments.
He's got arraignments.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be there. I've heard they're boring.
Yeah, and one courthouse could have a ton of different courtrooms that you just have to shuffle around, and you have just your packed schedule. So Shannon, as you notice, Simon's kind of hanging back and letting Shannon play. I think she's playing the good cop in this one.
Look at that profile. Look at that hair. Like, very, very nice. Good job.
I'm glad you appreciate it.
Look at those cheeks.
This is the moment where Simon realizes that he had this guy pegged all wrong, and maybe he's a little bit out of his league or out of his depth. So something is going on, and it's not just Simon who realizes it, which is kind of good because I like when you can see the reaction of multiple people in the world, and it's not just your characters are crazy or they're the only ones that have any common sense.
I really like Simon's bamboozled face.
Yeah, I think the answer is yes to Shannon's question.
I can't remember what I was asking. Like, I'm just really distracted by
really on my
face.
mind. I'm so sorry, Shannon.
Oh well, so I think the answer is yes to Shannon's question here.
Her. I thought you were talking about me. I was like, what?
There are two Shannons here, Shannon.
I forgot. Yeah, that's his uncomfortably aroused face, I imagine. Right?
Yes. There's all this commotion going on in the comic right now about a press conference, and I actually had read, as part of the strategy of the defense team for OJ Simpson, was to have these impromptu press conferences on the Friday afternoon before the sequestered jury would go into their quarters and obviously talk amongst themselves, even though they're not supposed to. But the defense team planned or speculated that they would secretly be speaking to their loved ones or watching television, and they would see the press conference, and so that they could control the narrative of the court and what everyone else is thinking. And it was a very indirect way of swaying the jury. But that was something that Johnny Cochran, and it could have been somebody else on his defense team, had deliberately cooked up. And I was like, oh, that's this guy is Montague is very much a
like Johnny
actor.
Cochran.
Yeah, he's Johnny Cochran. He's flamboyant, and in the last episode, he had this metaphor about how the trial is just this big, TV show or just this big spectacle, and that's why he loves giving these press conferences, of his wits. Well, thank you everyone for joining us again, for joining me and going over the chapter, the episode. Until next time.
Thanks
same
for the
time,
invite.
same bad channel, same bad time.
All right. Woo woo.
Woo woo. All right. See you guys.
See ya.
Bye.